Welcome, dear seekers of truth and wisdom. Today, we discuss a topic that resonates deeply within the hearts of those on a spiritual path, the 14 harsh truths that highly spiritual people will struggle with. This exploration is not just about recognizing these truths, but about understanding how they shape our journey and how we can navigate them with grace and insight. Let us begin with the first of these truths. The world does not change according to our desires or expectations. Many of us enter the spiritual path with a vision of a peaceful, perfect world where suffering and injustice do not exist. We wish to see the world reflect the harmony and love that we feel within ourselves. Yet, despite our deepest desires and even our actions toward making the world a better place, we often find that the world, in its vast complexity, does not conform to our wishes. This truth can be disheartening, and it raises profound questions about the role of a spiritual seeker in a world that seems indifferent to spiritual ideals. How do we maintain our inner peace and continue to embody love when the external world remains chaotic and unjust? The answer lies in understanding the power of presence and acceptance. Being fully present in the world, without attachment to outcomes, allows us to engage deeply and meaningfully without becoming disheartened by things beyond our control. Engaging with the world from a place of acceptance does not mean passive resignation, but an active, conscious decision to respond to the world not as we wish it to be, but as it is. This approach frees us from the burden of unmet expectations and allows us to channel our energies more effectively into actions that align with our spiritual values. Moreover, this acceptance invites us to look at our own reactions and attachments. Why do certain aspects of the world cause us distress? What does this reveal about our expectations? By examining our responses, we learn more about ourselves and grow in our ability to face the world with equanimity and grace. The second harsh truth we encounter is the loneliness of walking a path less traveled. Choosing a spiritual life often means stepping away from mainstream values and ways of living. It can lead to misunderstandings with friends and family who may not share or support your spiritual pursuits. This path, while rich with inner fulfillment, can also be lonely. However, within this loneliness lies a tremendous opportunity for growth. It challenges us to find strength and validation from within, rather than relying on external approval. This deep dive into self-reliance is not about building walls, but about nurturing a garden within where one can find peace and solace that does not depend on others. In this solitude, we also find a unique freedom, the freedom to explore our inner world without distraction or influence. It becomes a fertile ground for self-discovery and transformation. How do you embrace your moments of solitude as opportunities for deep spiritual growth? Now let us consider another profound truth: the challenge of seeing suffering and not being able to stop it. On our spiritual journeys, our hearts open up, and we become more empathetic and connected to the suffering of others. Yet, there is an accompanying realization that we cannot heal all the pain we see in the world. This realization can be overwhelming, but it also teaches us about the nature of compassion. True compassion involves bearing witness to suffering and offering our love and support without becoming overwhelmed by the inability to fix everything. It teaches us the humility to accept our limitations and the courage to continue offering whatever help we can. Furthermore, this understanding deepens our practice of compassion by reminding us that often being present and listening with a compassionate heart can be as powerful as any action we might take. How do you maintain your compassion in the face of overwhelming suffering? And how does this shape your spiritual practice? Lastly, in this part of our discussion, we face the truth that spiritual growth often involves facing our deepest fears and insecurities. the spiritual path is not always one of peace and light. It also leads us through the shadows of our own psyche. Facing these shadows can be terrifying, but it is essential for true transformation. This confrontation with our inner darkness is not a battle to be won, but a reconciliation to be achieved. It involves understanding and integrating aspects of ourselves that we have denied or suppressed. What fears have you encountered on your spiritual journey, and how have you worked to integrate these parts of yourself? Embracing impermanence and finding strength in vulnerability. Continuing our exploration into the harsh truths that challenge even the most devoted spiritual seekers, we now turn our attention to the concept of impermanence. This is a foundational truth in many spiritual traditions, but confronting it can be deeply unsettling. Everything changes and nothing lasts forever. Whether it's joy or sorrow, life or death, all conditions are transient. This truth can evoke fear and resistance in us. The thought of losing what we cherish, be it relationships, health, or material possessions, can trigger profound anxiety. Yet, there is a hidden gift in embracing impermanence. It teaches us to appreciate every moment fully, knowing that it may not come again. It invites us to live more deeply, more completely, and with gratitude for the present moment. How do you practice embracing the transient nature of life, and how has this influenced your relationships and values? Next, we face the truth that our spiritual practices themselves must evolve. Many begin their spiritual journey with certain practices or beliefs that serve as crucial supports. However, as we grow and change, so too must our practices. Clinging to the same rituals or beliefs without questioning or adapting them can lead to stagnation rather than growth. This evolution in practice is a sign of healthy spiritual development. It reflects a deepening understanding and a readiness to expand beyond previous limits. It challenges us to continually refine our approach to spirituality, ensuring that it aligns with our current state of being and our understanding of the universe. How have your spiritual practices evolved over time, and what challenges have you faced during these transitions? On a closely related note, another challenging truth is that true spiritual insights often come through struggle and discomfort. While we may seek spirituality to find peace or escape the difficulties of mundane existence, genuine spiritual depth is often forged in the fires of real-world challenges. The moments that test our patience, compassion, and resilience are the very moments that deepen our spiritual insights. These struggles are not punishments, but opportunities for profound personal transformation. They ask us to apply our spiritual lessons in real time, under pressure, and to embody the values we espouse. This is where the theoretical becomes real, where abstract concepts like forgiveness, compassion, and detachment are tested. Can you recall a time when your spiritual beliefs were tested in the crucible of real-life challenges? How did you respond, and what did you learn from that experience? Furthermore, we must acknowledge the truth that spiritual awakening does not erase our personalities or human flaws. There is sometimes a misconception that to be spiritually awakened is to become perfect, unerringly peaceful, and all-knowing. However, spiritual seekers are still human. They experience moods, make mistakes, and have biases. This realization can be disillusioning both to ourselves and to those who hold us to unrealistic standards. The key here is not to strive for a false ideal of perfection, but to seek authenticity and integrity in our spiritual expression. It involves recognizing our flaws and working on them, not hiding from them. This ongoing process of self-reflection and improvement is what keeps us grounded and relatable, even as we pursue higher spiritual truths. How do you balance the ideal of spiritual growth with the reality of your human imperfections? As we reflect on these truths, We realize that the spiritual path is not a linear journey towards a state of constant bliss, but a complex, sometimes difficult exploration that challenges every aspect of our being. It demands courage, humility, and above all, a commitment to growth, navigating the paradoxes of spiritual enlightenment. As we continue our deep dive into the harsh truths faced by highly spiritual people, we encounter the paradoxical nature of enlightenment itself. One of the most profound paradoxes is that spiritual enlightenment can lead to both detachment and deeper connection. This can be puzzling because, on one hand, spiritual practices often teach detachment from desires and the material world. On the other hand, they also encourage a deeper connection with all beings in the universe. This truth challenges us to redefine what connection and detachment truly mean. Detachment in the spiritual sense isn't about indifference or isolation. Rather, it's about not being enslaved by our attachments. It's about experiencing life and relationships without the heavy burdens of neediness and possessiveness. Meanwhile, the connection that spirituality fosters is based on a deep recognition of the interdependence of all life and the universal love that binds us. How do you balance detachment from ego-driven desires with a compassionate connection to everything around you? Another challenging truth is that the pursuit of spiritual wisdom can sometimes lead to isolation. As we delve deeper into spiritual practices and start to see the world differently, it can become difficult to relate to those who do not share or understand our insights and experiences. This can lead to feelings of isolation or alienation from mainstream society. However, this isolation can also serve as a fertile ground for self-discovery and personal integrity. It can strengthen our convictions and clarify our understanding of what truly matters to us. Moreover, it can inspire us to find new ways of communicating our insights and experiences in a manner that bridges the gap between our inner reality and the outer world. What strategies have you developed to communicate your spiritual insights to others who might be less familiar with or resistant to them? We also encounter the truth that spiritual growth can sometimes feel like regression rather than progress. There are phases in our spiritual journey where, despite our best efforts, we seem to be moving backwards rather than forwards. Old habits resurface and old pains that we thought we had healed reappear. This experience, while disheartening, is a natural part of the spiritual process. It often indicates that deeper layers of understanding and healing are being reached. Each recurrence of past patterns provides an opportunity to apply our new wisdom and skills in healing and transformation, deepening our spiritual maturity. How do you handle moments of apparent regression in your spiritual journey, and what lessons have they taught you? Furthermore, we face the hard truth that spiritual paths can be commodified and stripped of their depth in a commercialized world. In our society, there is a tendency to market spirituality as a commodity, something that can be bought, sold, and consumed. This commercialization can dilute the profound teachings and practices of spirituality, turning them into superficial products that promise quick fixes to deep existential issues. As seekers of truth, it is our responsibility to discern the difference between genuine spiritual teachings and those that are commodified for profit. It requires us to stay true to the essence of spirituality, which is transformation through deep personal commitment, not through superficial engagement. How do you discern the authenticity of spiritual teachings and practices in a world that often commercializes them? As we ponder these truths, we see that the path to spiritual enlightenment is filled with paradoxes and challenges that require deep contemplation, integrity, and a commitment to personal growth. Are we prepared to continue this journey, exploring the remaining truths that await us? The illumination of shadows, embracing the final truths of spiritual realization. In the concluding part of our exploration into the harsh truths faced by spiritual seekers, we delve into perhaps the most profound and transformative aspects of the spiritual journey. These truths challenge us to face our deepest fears and embrace the totality of our existence, both light and shadow. One such truth is that spiritual enlightenment does not provide immunity from suffering. While spiritual practices can significantly reduce suffering by changing our relationship with pain and difficulty, they do not eliminate it. True spiritual wisdom involves recognizing that suffering is part of the human experience and learning how to encounter it with grace, compassion, and equanimity. This can be a difficult pill to swallow for those who turn to spirituality hoping to escape life's inevitable hardships. How have your spiritual practices changed your relationship with suffering? Another challenging truth is that true spirituality demands confronting the shadow self. Often, people pursue spiritual paths in hopes of transcending their flaws and negative traits. However, true spiritual growth requires us to confront and integrate these aspects rather than merely transcending them. This process, known as shadow work, involves acknowledging, understanding, and accepting the parts of ourselves that we usually want to hide or deny. Engaging in shadow work can be unsettling but ultimately liberating. It allows us to achieve a deeper sense of wholeness and authenticity as we accept all parts of ourselves with compassion. How have you engaged with your shadow self, and what impact has this had on your spiritual journey? Moreover, we must face the truth that spiritual truths can be both universal and intensely personal. While certain spiritual principles may appear universal, the way they manifest in each individual's life can be profoundly unique. This can lead to conflicts when one's personal spiritual insights or experiences do not align with established doctrines or the expectations of a spiritual community. Navigating this terrain requires a delicate balance of humility and confidence in one's own experiences. It calls for an openness to learn from the collective wisdom of a tradition while also trusting one's personal revelations. How do you balance the universal aspects of spirituality with your personal experiences and insights? Additionally, the realization that spiritual awakening can be an ongoing process rather than a definitive endpoint is a vital yet often overlooked truth. Many may enter the spiritual path with the expectation of reaching a final, enlightened state where all struggles and doubts cease. However, in reality, spiritual awakening is typically not a one-time event but a continuous journey of deepening understanding and connection. This perspective helps prevent the potential frustration and disillusionment that can arise from unmet expectations, and encourages a lifelong commitment to growth and learning. How do you perceive your own spiritual awakening as an ongoing process? As we conclude this exploration, it is clear that the spiritual path is neither simple nor easy. It is rich with paradoxes, personal challenges, and profound growth opportunities. By courageously facing these harsh truths, we allow ourselves to embrace a deeper and more authentic spiritual life, marked not by the absence of difficulty but by the presence of an enduring peace and wisdom that permeates all experiences. Are we ready to continue walking this path, accepting its challenges and celebrating its rewards? Let this be the question that guides us forward in our continual journey of spiritual discovery.